stream, so let them have this. Let them digest this conversation. So, 2 returning captains. Yeah, pretty much.
Jesse Davis and Landon Roberts. I never make anything of the captains. I mean, I'm a little surprised Tua is not a captain just for optics, but so what? You know?
I mean, it totally depends on how the captains are produced. If the captains are produced based on player vote or based on leadership selection of the coaching staff, and I never respected that route. And
it might be player vote, but who's counting the votes?
Exactly. You figured it out. I remember one year. I forget when it was. I think it was 2019. Like Ryan Fitzpatrick wasn't a captain, and I'm thinking to myself, like, bullshit. Like, no possible way is Ryan Fitzpatrick not voted a captain by his peers. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
Then he was a captain last year, and then he gets benched, and everybody's looking at him as the captain. Like, it's a real uncomfortable spot.
Well, he did win the leadership award last year, which was talk about uncomfortable. That was uncomfortable. So, I got the second segment, Omar?
Yes, sir. You got the second segment. You ready to go? We're ready to go.
All set.
Oh my God, decline. Like somebody's calling me now. Like why? What would you? Yeah.
They're not a viewer, Omar. They're not a watcher, obviously.
Okay. All right. Hey, Dolphin fans, another regular season is upon us, which means X's and Omar makes its return. Welcome to the Dolphin Show that not only dissects every aspect of your favorite team, but it also incorporates you as the fan. I'm Omar Kelly, host of X's and Omar, and this is my colleague, my cohort, Sun Sentinel columnist Dave Hyde, Broward County Hall of Famer, still aspirations that I hope to one day achieve. We're at the doorstep of kicking off the 2021 season with Sunday's AFC East showdown against the New England Patriots. What better way to prepare your young but old team by recapping the offseason by giving you some fast forward highlights, cliff note versions of what happened this year. So Tua Tagovailoa, said it right, Dave. It's only taken me 3 years. Is developing at a respectable pace. Xavier Howard, he got his contract issue resolved after sitting out about 2 weeks of training camp. Well, injured. The all-injured receiving core, they're working their way back, but you're going to have to start the season without Will Fuller, who was suspended, and Devontae Parker is Devontae Parker. Let's get to the offensive line drama. Before we even begin the season with this sophomore-filled unit of starters, Austin Jackson comes down with COVID. More than likely, he's going to be out for the season opener, if not more, depending on what his viral loads are, Dave. It's a new world we live in. And Benardrick McKinney, one of the top additions this offseason, the only Pro Bowler that was added this offseason, got waived. So, Dave, how would you describe the past month in Dolphins land?
Well, up until this week, I would say it's pretty predictable. I mean, you thought Tua would be better in second year preseason, right? And he is. At least I thought the Xavier Howard thing would get resolved. And it did. I mean, the Dolphins had boxed themselves into a corner really on that one, and they had to give him more money. The Benardrick McKinney, I mean, they gave up Shaq Lawson for him. No, we saw Shaq Lawson play. You're getting a linebacker version of Shaq Lawson, a guy who had shoulder surgery. So it was disappointing they took a chance on hopefully they'd get better there, and they didn't. The disappointing thing to me is the COVID stuff. And this is what's going to play out, I get, all season in various forms and on different teams. So I guess we got to get used to it. But Austin Jackson was a guy you wanted to see there at left tackle day one, see where he is at the start of year two. And now
had a rough camp, Dave.
A line, maybe it will be. We'll see. But a line with questions to it, has a big one now, an added one and a big one.
Yeah, and think that everything is okay. So we are where we are. It's going to be an issue. My question is it going to be an issue that impacts Tua and the offense? We shall see. Love the development of Tua. I say it, and we'll address it later on in the show. I would put him in year 4 Ryan Tannehill right now, which is pretty good for a guy in his second year, first preseason, 10 starts under his belt. Now, obviously, he's got to put it together on the field. We didn't address the co-offensive coordinators, which is a new addition to this team. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. The final guy in Tua's ear is his quarterback coach. And what that means, we don't know because the Dolphins don't want us to know. But overall, I think they've had a solid offseason. Is this team improved? The Dolphins will get their chance at Kyle Van Noy. Kyle Van Noy's revenge.
And Kyle Van Noy will get his chance at the Dolphins. I think that's how he's looking at it as.
Absolutely. Let's get to our first question, which comes from Mike. How hot is the Brian Flores, Chris Greer seat if this team misses out on the playoffs this season?
Wow, right out of the chute we're going to.
Right out the gate, Dave. Right out the gate.
Let's separate the question here, okay? Brian Flores' seat is not hot. It's about as cool a seat as you got in the league right now, okay? As far as a third year, a coach who hasn't won a Super Bowl or something like that, okay? Now, Chris Greer, tell me how all these draft picks are going to start developing and where they're going to be at the end of the year, and then and factor into the season how it plays out. Then we'll get into Chris Greer's decision. But you want a symbol for Chris Greer, how hot his seat will be. Where's Tua going to be at the end of the year? How good a quarterback is he going to be? That is 60% of a GM's decision, maybe more, is getting the right quarterback. Okay, and so, but right out of the chute, that's a little hot before even a game's played.
I mean, we got to address it, Dave. It really, to me, I don't think if they don't make the playoffs this year, what's different than any other year in the past 20 years with the exception of 2? Like people are like, oh, it's playoffs and playoffs are the standard. When have playoffs been the standard for this franchise? It's been 2 playoff berths in 20 years. And
but Omar, it's been the standard. That's why we're in 20 years. There's 7 regimes because they haven't made the. Now I will say I agree with you on the playoffs this year. I don't think that's the be all end all. The be all end all is seeing a lot of these young players develop to the point you say, there's the future, okay? Because all the draft picks are here right now. They need to take a step forward where you say, okay, that's the team we got, and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel now.
Yeah, I don't know about all the draft picks because I could tell you some of these draft picks are just guys. Christian Wilkins is, I'm sorry, if it hurts your feelings to hear.
He's better. He's a good NFL defensive tackle, Omar. He's a good.
All right, sure.
I'm not saying he's Pro Bowl, but
will they honor his 5th-year option? Will they opt into his 5th-year option?
Will they honor Mike Gesicki's 5th-year option?
Mike Gesicki doesn't have a 5th-year option, but yes.
I'm sorry. You're right. Yeah, will they? We're talking contracts. Will they extend Gesicki? I mean, there's
not a chance.
There's business.
Yes.
Okay, Omar, let's go with our next question. Gio wants to know, is Flores an alpha male and can he handle alpha players?
Flores is definitely an alpha male. He oozes alpha male-ism. the question is, can he handle an alpha male player? Put a gun to my head, my answer would be no. And that's not an indictment on who he is. I'm not sure how many coaches that I've covered outside of Tony Sperano can really handle alpha male players. Joe Philbin, when he got here, the first thing he did was trade the alpha male player. And I've always said this about Flores, and it is the one concern that I do have about his tenure. He needs to coach young players. And when those young players become veterans and they sort of get the ebb and flow of the league, and they learn it's a business, the Jerome Baker, Mike Gesicki level of players, where they're done with all this foolishness and they're trying to get their money and they're trying to get security and they want to feel valued. Can Flores make them feel valued? Can Flores make them feel the love? Can Flores make them get taken care of? We saw this issue in two instances where, two alpha players, Ryan Fitzpatrick, it happened the way it happened. We know what that was about. They wanted Tua to play, and it was an investment in Tua. But was Ryan Fitzpatrick really handled properly? I would argue that he wasn't. But that's neither here nor there. Flores has to do what's in the best interest of the team. And Xavier Howard, while the contract situation is resolved, I'm not necessarily certain that that has fixed the relationship issues between Flores and Xavier Howard. And if we'll be right back here next year with the contract. So in the offseason. So, this has got some opportunity to play itself out. But as I said, is he an alpha male? Yes. Can he coach alpha males? Probably not. But then if you look at all of Bill Belichick's former proteges, they have struggled with those. And they've also all lost their locker rooms, which led to them losing their jobs. So,
well, I won't go that far. I would not say alpha males. I'd say there's a question with Flores the first couple of years. Can he get along with a sustained system, people in a sustained system? He's on his fourth offensive line coach, his second or third offensive coordinator, second defensive coordinator. Well, Josh Boyer's been there, going on in year 3 now? No, I guess year 2.
Yeah, he's been there.
So to me, it's sustainability of. But look at him in New England. He was Patrick Chung for years, the McCourty brothers for years. Stephon Gilmore was a guy who had made big money, and he was there. So I mean,
he wasn't the man though.
So was Xavier Howard.
No,
he wasn't the
I'm
man.
saying Flores wasn't the man, so he could blame
his
it on
role
the man.
has changed, but I'm not ready to go there. There's a broader question, though. I agree on when you look at a lot of internal changes and systemic changes going on. And my thought was in the NFL and football, you get a system in place, you get players to fit that system, and you grow up with it. And his way is more of almost a year-to-year change. And
I don't.
It's worked. I mean, it's worked.
Well, we'll see if it's worked. A 5-10, 5-11 record and a 10-6 surprise season isn't proof that it works, but I agree.
Well, it's worked in 2 years in the sense they got the most out of the roster they could. Now, has it worked to the point of, okay, we're going to be a contender, a relevant team for 5-6 straight years? We're not there yet, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Francisco has our next question, Omar. What's the one aspect of this team no one is talking about right now, but will be towards the end of the year?
I think it's got to be the tight ends. And we talked about it a little bit. Mike Gesicki, Mike Give Me My Money Gesicki, who is basically playing in a contract year. You guys know how I feel about contract years. It's pay me time. It's money time. I need to produce because I got money on the line. And I think Mike is going to ball out if he has a healthy season. Yes, we know who he is. He's a glorified slot receiver. He's not really a tight end, but he's a matchup threat. And not just him, but the improvements that I've seen from Durham Smythe and from Adam Shaheen, they were the best unit on the team during training camp and the joint practices. They are in Tua's wheelhouse, and I expect last year they had one of the record-setting years for the position at the franchise in receptions. And I expect them to have another big year. I expect them to pick up where they left off. It doesn't hurt that their position coach is one of the co-offensive coordinators.
Yeah, I was going to answer Myles Gaskin. That's not really a group, but Myles Gaskin, I especially in this matchup, think of him as James White almost, a guy who can run, very good pass catcher. But where I'll go with is the defensive line. I think I like Wilkins. I think Raekwon Davis is, if he takes another step from what he did at the end of last year, then we're talking star in the NFL, okay? So, and then you bring in, who is Jalen Phillips as a rookie? I don't know, but I like the concept. I like the idea, the size, the way they can use him. And then Ogba at the other end. So the defensive, now you could be coming back to me a week from now when they go up against the Patriots offensive line and Bill Belichick decides to run the ball down their throat and
198 rushing yards.
Yes, but we'll be talking about them towards the end of the year.
A big question for me is, can they get pressure on Mac Jones? And we'll discuss this later in the show, but he's a rookie quarterback. You show him defenses that he's never seen, and you throw everything at him. It's not like the Patriots got weapons behind you that could roast you. So it'll be interesting to see. But you're right. There's a lot of pressure placed on the defensive line.
All right, Omar. Last year we watched Tua Tagovailoa take over Ryan Fitzpatrick's team, not just his position, his team, and deliver a 6-3 record in his 9 starts. His statistics weren't amazing, and he was even replaced a couple times by Fitzpatrick in the fourth quarter of 2 games, one in which he delivered a shocking victory against the Raiders. Fast forward 9 months, and we've seen a ton of growth from the first rounder. What are the expectations for him this year, Omar?
For me, I don't have unrealistic expectations. I believe Tua is going to be a good quarterback if he can stay healthy and if his arm holds up. Those are my 2 only concerns that I have about him. Obviously, they're important concerns, but Drew Brees had the same concerns, and he put together a Hall of Fame career. So it's not like it's impossible. I expect a winning season. I expect 65% completion on his passes. I expect a 2-for-1 touchdown to interception ratio. Those are the things that I expect. I expect Tua to be a commanding leader. He was not named the captain of this team, which was a little bit surprising to me because he oozes captain. He's shown you a ton of captain leadership. Why the players wouldn't vote him a captain, I really don't have an answer to that. But, c'est la vie. It is what it is. Maybe because last year they voted Ryan Fitzpatrick the captain, and he ended up being the captain from the bench.
Come on, Omar. Let's not make excuses. I don't know what it is either, but he wasn't voted captain.
He uses leadership. Like, you got to think the wide receivers had to vote for him. You got to think the offensive line had to vote for him. What, did he get a shutout on defense? Like, what happened here?
I don't know. But I would think the offense votes for their captains. The defense votes for their captains, right? I mean, I don't know either. And who knows what odd message that could be possibly sent or button being pushed. I don't know. But yeah, expectations. Look, he threw 6 passes for over 25 yards last year. Okay, 3 of them were in the final game, which they were being blown out and they're just winging the ball downfield. So let's start there. You want to see the ball go down the field some. Yards per attempt, he was at the bottom of the league. 3rd down, he was at the bottom of the league. So those are simple progressions that you would expect him to take this year and look like he could take. Now, the Drew Brees comparison bothers me a little. I get it, the size, I get the frame, et cetera, et cetera. Drew Brees was set up. Drew Brees played in a dome, okay? He played in a dome not only in New Orleans, he played in a dome in Atlanta, he played in Carolina. Those were his home base. Tua's home base, again, South Florida isn't rough weather. It's hot, but it's not rough. But at some point in his career, he's going to have to win in the bad weather in up north, New England, Boston, or Orchard Park, and the Meadowlands. Those places could get that's not dome weather, and his arm, as you mentioned, but that's down the line. You look at the schedule this year, it's set up nicely for him where there's minimal bad weather games. And so progression to year two, it looks on pace right now.
Let me address one thing. While we both address the arm issues, and it's undeniable when you watch him especially on film. When you watch the end of the season last year, and this was pointed out to me by a NFL evaluator, like his arm was done, and he could not throw more than 20 yards, anything with a little bit of zip to it. And sometimes that happens to quarterbacks who don't have the strongest arm. Ryan Fitzpatrick had that issue at points during his career. He didn't have a strong arm either. I don't value strong arms. What I value is accuracy and anticipation and pocket presence, all of which he has. So if you tell me a quarterback has all three of those but doesn't have the arm, I'd still prefer him over the one with an arm, even though Justin Herbert is killing it.
So is Josh Allen. Yeah, okay. Our next question comes from Armando. Who do you think will end up being Tua's favorite target this season?
Well, to me, it has to be Jalen Waddle. This is a guy that he's got history with from his play in game in Alabama. He is an RPO offense's dream in terms of how much attention he draws, how many gadget plays, how many just quick outlet passes that he can catch and gain 10 to 12 yards. So I would see Jalen Waddle catching 50 to 60 passes per game. Now, that might not seem like a lot to most Dolphin fans, but 50 to 60 passes per season. But I will argue to you that this receiving core is relatively deep. All the roles are very versed and spread out. And from Devontae Parker to Will Fuller to Preston Williams to Albert Wilson to Mike Gesicki to Adam Shaheen to Myles Gaskin to Savon Ahmed. That's a lot of weapons. And I know people will probably be like, well, it doesn't sound like it's a lot, but trust me, it's a lot of playmakers on your team. So I think a 60 reception guy is going to be the high guy.
Yeah, I'd say Waddle too from this standpoint. When Tua played at Alabama, 39% of his passes went to the slot receiver. Last year with the Dolphins, 40%. Where's Jalen Waddle going to play? Where's Tua comfortable with him playing? Out of the slot most of the time. So I'm with you that Waddle to me seems to be the odds-on favorite to be his favorite target. Okay, Dylan has a good one, Omar. Does Tua's accuracy and anticipation outweigh his lack of special physical abilities enough to be a quarterback in the league?
I think that he will eventually be a top 10 quarterback in the league. I'm not necessarily confident in putting him in the top 5 right now. That's maybe he gets there one day when the Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady's of the world retires, but I think he'll comfortably be in the top 10 in 2023. 2022, not so certain. 2021, we'll see. But as I said earlier, I don't obsess about arm strength. I really don't. While it's nice to have, it's great to have that cannon where you can zip in that 15-yard out and get it in there on a rope to beat a cornerback. I would rather a guy catch a slot receiver in stride. I would rather a guy put a bucket pass to a tight end in the seam that only he can catch. I would rather a quarterback throw the ball in spots only in the red zone, only to where he's draped by a defender, but only his target can get that ball. And that's what I've seen consistently from Tua all training camp. I mean, his red zone work was masterful. It was right up there with Chad Pennington and Ryan Fitzpatrick. And if you know how I feel about both of those quarterbacks, you know that's some pretty high damn praise. So if Tua can stay healthy and this RPO offense can work and they can establish a run game, I'd say no doubt about it, they'll have a top 10 offense. and he'll be a top 10 quarterback.
Yeah, if we're talking top 5, to me that's not either or. Either you can throw the touch passes or you have arm strike. If we're talking top 5, you do both. I mean, the only guy I can think of who didn't is again back to Drew Brees. Okay, he didn't have a cannon for an arm. Okay, so it's hard to predict somebody 6 foot with an average arm and saying, okay, he's going to be a top 5. You know, look, anybody can become anything, and maybe becomes that. But you know, right now you're banking on what you listen to him. How can you not like him? His leadership, until we see the captain vote, seem to be there. But you see, mature guy. You see,
there's nothing to not like, Dave, except for that arm.
He's progressed. He knows the offense now. He's had 1 year under his belt. So we'll see.
For my RPO piece, I did a lot of talking to people behind the scenes who were sort of instrumental in the RPO's evolution and the RPO's growth at Alabama. And do you know that Tua is viewed as the RPO god? Like, he is the teaching video that high schools show their players. Like, you know, because this isn't coming from the NFL. This is coming from the college ranks. And while Chip Kelly innovated the spread offense and incorporated a little bit of RPO, it's Alabama that's really taken it and sort of polished it up and said, hey, this is an offense that has sustainability, and Tua is the master. He is viewed as the master. Dolphins have done everything in their power to install an RPO-based offense for this quarterback, going back to Chan Gailey, to now you're taking another step further. It'll be interesting to see if he is the RPO god. I don't know.
He's the RPO guy in college. I mean, there's an added layer to the question there as far as RPO in the NFL.
Yes.
Okay, where is that going? How are defenses, now that they've had some time, Belichick's had time to sit back in offseason and look at it and really.
He's running it too.
Yeah, and so, I mean, that course hasn't played out either. How our defense is going to now react to it all. Okay, Boot Real Boy.
I think it's Bot Real Boy.
Is it Bot Real Boy?
I have to sound it out. Yeah.
Extra O there. Ash, what are your thoughts on Liam Eichenberg replacing Austin Jackson at left tackle? This obviously gets into Austin Jackson. Possibly, he's missing practice today, possibly out for the opener because of COVID.
Yeah, this is, I like Liam Eichenberg because he's smart, he's technically sound. However, he's not healthy. We'll find out exactly what the issue is later on when the practice report comes out on Wednesday afternoon. But you've got options there. You've got Greg Little, a player that they traded for. He's a former second-round pick, drafted higher than Liam Eichenberg. Yes, another team gave up on him, but that happens sometimes in coaching changes. You'll never know. Now, he has ability. The question is, he's got some movement skills. The question is, who's going to be able to hold it down for Austin? And while Liam has not practiced there at left tackle, according to their offensive line coach, John Pierre, they felt like he's comfortable and understands that position. He started 38 games in college at left tackle. You should be able to put him in there, and he's so technically sound, he'll be able to play it in a pinch. We needed him to learn how to play left guard and how to play right tackle, positions where he's going to have to potentially start this season. Well, the injuries sort of derailed that starting, but now, because of a COVID issue, you might have to, break in case of emergency and take a look at him at practice this week at left tackle and have an open competition and audition with Greg Little and see who right now you're patching a leaking dam. That offensive line, as you know, Dave, because we've been talking about it all goddamn off season, I didn't like it. Not one bit of it. Omar
wrote a column saying they needed a patch, they need some help, meaning get some reserves, and they went out and they trade for 3 reserves, right? I think they made 3 moves to bring in. They made
3 moves, 2 trade. But the column was really a threat, Dave.
Right,
because
right.
If the offensive line not only derails the season and injures Tua, gets Tua injured, I got nothing but fingers of blame for Greer, because you saw the exact same thing that I saw during training camp, which is a unit that was not very good.
Well, I'd go back before training camp. This whole rebuild involved getting young guys. Do we want to go through it again? How much investment has been put into the offensive line?
It's ridiculous.
Just look at, 1-1, 2 2s, 2 3s, a 4, 2 5s, and a
1-1.
3 or 4 7s.
4-1. What are you talking about?
Right. Okay. Right. But look at Liam Eichenberg. They traded it. They used a 2 and a 3 to get him this year. You use a 2 and a 3 on a offensive lineman. You're telling me we're going to plug him in there, and we have a position for him. Put him in there, and he's going to be good to go. And the disappointing thing, the injury's over here. Before that, he started at right tackle, moved to left guard.
No shame he couldn't beat out Jesse Davis. No shame in that.
All I'm saying is,
going to put some respect on Jesse Davis's name.
Here's what I'm saying, Omar. When you spend a 2 and a 3 on an offensive lineman, and you already have your left tackle, you're telling me that guy is a day one. We're going to put him in training camp at one position. We know where to use him, and he's going to stay there, and we're good to go for the next 5 years at least. Okay, and
that's fair.
All I'm watching is what hasn't played out for whatever reason.
If it wasn't for injury, I do believe that he would have been in there. He got hurt. Solomon.
Wait. He started at right tackle, then he moved to left tackle, and then he got hurt. So,
yeah, but the move to left guard was an emergency situation because they were trash at left guard. Now I'm not saying that.
I'm sorry. You have a rookie. You put him in. This is my theory. Especially on that, put him in a position, let him learn that position, stick him in there, and let him go. Year one, I saw Richmond Webb and Keith Sims came in here. Boom. They played every down of preseason there. They sat at lunch, one to the left of the other. They drove one to the left of the other. That's how it was.
Not how Brian Flores works, Dave. He is an adamant believer, and I do support this, that you start your best 5 offensive linemen and you figure out how to make them work. Now,
I agree, but you have a rookie offensive lineman. He's on his 3rd position in 6 or 7 weeks.
But out of necessity, Dave, for this exact reason, Dave, because you're going to have COVID injuries, and guys have to have position flexibility and the versatility to move at other spots and fill those holes and not get their face beat in by the Patriots.
Everybody agrees with offensive play different positions. It's a little different. Let them at least learn one position, especially when it's not the position he played in college. And now you want to,
We'll see on Sunday.
I'm confused by the use of Liam Eichenberg. That's all. And maybe it all plays out.
Everybody is cross-trained. He was being cross-trained.
What's he trained at to go cross-training? What's his position? His position?
I think he's going to be a guard eventually. I think he's going to be a left guard eventually.
So you use a 2 and a 3 on a left tackle in college, start him at right tackle, but he's a guard.
They want their whole line to be tackles. So you're not saying anything of an indictment here. They want their entire line to be tackles. So from everybody from the center, they want a massive line. And more power to them. I like the process in theory. The execution is my issue.
I like a good line. And with all the resources.
You don't think I'd like a good line, Dave?
With all the resources, it should develop into one this year.
If we're talking about Liam, he got derailed by a shoulder injury.
Yeah, right.
Getting his face beat in by Akeem Hicks in Chicago. Okay, that derailed him a little bit. He's coming back. He's contending again. He's learning. He's training. Then he suffers, I believe, a lower leg injury. Injuries happen. It's part of the game. And and we'll see what happens. He might be out there as a starting left tackle.
Just to bring this all full circle, I'm not questioning Liam Eichenberg. Okay, I get
you want your rookies at one spot,
learn
at one spot, and
I'm confused by how he's been moved over a lot in his first training camp. That's all.
But it's their approach. Start the best 5. If he is offensive lineman number 6, he couldn't beat out Solomon Kinley, who's number 5. They gave him every chance. He couldn't do it. Solomon is, and I understand why Solomon's starting, because Solomon, you're not going to bull him into the quarterback, which means Tua's going to have a secure pocket. So for what you give up in the run game, you're gaining in the pass game. And I think pass game was their bigger issue in training camp. So I understand. Do I fully support all the decisions? Yeah, we'll see. The beauty of opening the season with the New England Patriots is that it's the litmus test for the AFC East, even without Tom Brady. When you open up with New England, you still get Bill Belichick, who is without a doubt going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer as a coach. And when you play a Belichick team, your weaknesses, the weak areas of your team, are going to be identified, highlighted, circled, and attacked. He's going after the Phillip Wheelers on your team. That's just the Belichick way. So what I love about starting the season with New England is you're going to get a clear identification of what your team's weaknesses are, and it's going to help you address it for the next 16 games. So, Dave, is New England still the luster of an old rivalry? Is this still the litmus test for where you stack up in the AFC East, or does that belong to Buffalo now?
Oh, clearly Buffalo's the team to beat now. But to me, this is a much more fascinating. This matchup couldn't be more fascinating in year one because, and I just put a column up about this. It was just put out online. Once and for all, we're going to see who's smarter. Okay, who's better, who's strong. Bill Belichick was humbled last year. Tom Brady, he nudged Tom Brady out the door and then gave him the boot. And Brady goes to New England, to Tampa Bay, wins the Super Bowl. So everything the Dolphins did the past 3 off seasons, Belichick did last off season.
Past decade. What are you talking about? 3 off seasons?
No. Wait a second. The Dolphins made trades, made moves to make sure they could get a franchise quarterback. They took Tua. The Patriots took Mac Jones this offseason. The Dolphins overspent a year ago on free agency, $148 million guaranteed. The Patriots spent $175 million this offseason. Okay, so the Dolphins took 2 years of stepping back and sacrifice to start saying, okay, we're going to get everything in place. The Patriots took 1 year last year. These listen to the coaches and you listen to the players, what they're allowed to say. Now, they have mirrored organizationally what they've tried to do. Okay, who's smarter? Who's better? And this is, everybody's looking at Jones and Tua, and I get it. They're symbols for something bigger, though, in this matchup. And please, I get it. It won't be decided by the scoreboard Sunday. It's going to play out over this season, over next season. I get that. But this is a sort of a little litmus test into it. It's not just the quarterbacks. It's the whole organization. It's the plan. It's how smart they are. It's how they built a roster with draft picks and free agency money. And this will be a fascinating matchup.
It will be a fascinating matchup because it's about, student versus teacher, the one organization that finally did it the right way versus the guy who's.
What's the right way? What do you mean?
Draft a young quarterback, lose for a while, invest, curry up draft picks.
There are a lot of ways up the mountain. There are a lot of ways.
You're right, because going to get the elite quarterback is the right way. Funny enough, we didn't address Deshaun Watson in this show, but we've got time. Listen, I have said for years, and people laughed me down for years, especially Patriots fans. I have said Bill Belichick, the executive, will be the demise of Bill Belichick, the Hall of Fame coach. I think he's done a poor job as an executive for over a decade. And a lot of the signings that they made just were dumb and didn't make any sense. But you know what? He's trying to prop up his team to get them into the 10-win stratosphere. And I understand. It's what the Dolphins have been doing for a decade, baby. So I totally
whoa. They went and they got a rookie quarterback, and they're starting that rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
But I'll counter. Look, give Belichick his due. How many rings does Aaron Rodgers have, Omar? Is he that much better than is Brady that much better than him? How many rings does Peyton Manning have? Is he that much better than Tom Brady? Or excuse me, I keep reversing it. Is Brady that much better than him? No. Give Belichick his due. He has rebuilt that roster 4 or 5 times with Brady there.
All with the elite quarterback.
I agree. All with Brady
the
there.
greatest of all time.
Absolutely. So, that's the most important piece.
Yes. Is Tom Brady better than Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning? Yes, because he'll go down as the greatest of all time.
No, I said, is he that much? Is Tom Brady's now won 7 rings. Aaron Rodgers has won 1. So you're telling me the Green Bay Packers, I'm telling you the Green Bay Packers are a bad organization when Aaron Rodgers only wins 1 Super Bowl there. When Peyton Manning only wins 1 Super Bowl in Indianapolis, that organization wasn't right. Give Belichick his due. He won 6 Super Bowls with a great quarterback. So that's not something anybody's other been able to match.
Peyton Manning had always had to go through Tom Brady. And, yeah, Aaron Rodgers called out his own organization for doing stupid crap. So,
for a good reason. For good reason. This isn't hard. this isn't easy. Getting on top and staying on top. It's not easy.
It's not.
Belichick did it.
Okay, then show me you can do it again. Show me. You've never had to rebuild without Tom Brady.
I agree. Absolutely. It's a different challenge.
Show me that you can do it. Splurge wants to know, who do you think would be the biggest factor come week 1 against New England?
Well, we're going, to me, this is a simple game. Whose quarterback is going to get hot? We're going to come out of the game. If Tua has stars and Mac Jones stumbles, Dolphin fans and all of us in the media, the Dolphins are on the right course. If it goes the other way, it'll be, Belichick's done it again. And look at the Dolphins. Much more will be made probably than this game deserves, but that's the fun of it.
To me, the biggest factor is going to be the Dolphins secondary, because who in the world is going to beat them from a playmaker standpoint? Nelson Aguilar, Matthew Slater, Damian Harris, Jacob.
The tight ends are going to be the focus of it. That's it. I'm just telling you, that's what they're going to try to make it simple.
Eric Rowe has shown he could do his thing, baby. So hold on now. Eric Rowe has defended Travis Kelce one-on-one. Yes, he's gotten whooped by Travis Kelce from time to time, but who hasn't? Eric Rowe can play.
Absolutely. Remember, for years the tight end was the bugaboo for the Dolphins, and Eric Rowe came in and he played great the last 2 years, year and a half, however, whatever timeline you want to put on it. He is, and you saw him in practice this camp going against Kyle Pitts of the Falcons. And
tight end eraser, man. And listen, we'll address that later. But to me, the biggest factor in this game, can they get pressure on Mac Jones?
Okay, Matthew wants to know, and this is right up the alley here. Are you as worried about New England's offensive line and run game as I am?
Yeah, because Bill Belichick for years has run the ball down Miami's throat. And people don't realize it because they had Tom Brady, but they've been a predominant run-heavy team for like 5 years.
They could go any way they wanted to. If they saw a defense that could be overpowered, as was many times the case with the Dolphins, including last year's opener, they did that. And that'll be the question this opener. Does he feel the need to do that? And do the Dolphins allow him to do that?
I mean, you can't put that much pressure on Mac Jones. So I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to lean heavily on the run game. They got the Stevenson running back, the rookie who had a sensational camp. It'll be interesting to see exactly what approach that they do take against the Dolphins. If you look at who the Dolphins are or have been during the Brian Flores era, they're susceptible to the run. So why would Bill Belichick not?
Yeah, and an interesting move by the Patriots in August was Sony Michel traded, okay, which tells you how much they like Damian Harris, okay? And I'm curious to see how big of a role how good he is this season. We know James White, okay? We know his role, how good he is in that role. I'm curious about Damian Harris.
Definitely. Mr. Richard has our next one. Does swapping of Bobby McCain for Jason McCourty and Javon Holland, swapping of Shaq Lawson for Jalen Phillips and the subtraction of Kyle Van Noy, make this defense better or worse than last year?
Whew, that's I think this defense will be very good again. Better or worse? It's going to be right. We're talking top 10 defense, maybe top 5. Now, last year, a lot of things happened. Xavier Howard can have as good a year as he did last year and not get 10 interceptions. They can have as good a year as they did last year and not lead the league in turnovers as they did. So, but as far as you look at Javon Holland, if he's not really good, then Brian Flores was so excited over Javon Holland coming out of that draft that if he's not good, they missed on somebody they don't expect to. And look, Jalen Phillips, everybody knew he's good. The question to him is medically, okay, concussions. And so it isn't so much a question of, can he be a really good player? It's, can he have a good career with some of the medical concerns about him?
The only move that I don't like this offseason defensively was the removal of Bobby McCain. Swapping Bobby McCain out for Jason McCourty just didn't make any sense. But hey, it saved them money. We all know what the excuses they make when they make those kind of moves. But I didn't think Kyle Van Noy gave you more than Andrew Van Ginkel did. And I was pleasantly surprised at how well Andrew Van Ginkel has played this training camp. And I expect him to take another step forward. The question is, can you have somebody on the opposite side? And it's got to be Jalen Phillips, and he's got to stay healthy. Really, I don't see any other options. So it'll be interesting to see what happens from that standpoint.
But that's my question. Why about Kyle Van Noy? He played. There isn't health concerns over his full career. Over his career, there's not.
He was falling apart. He was falling apart here. He had back issues and some other issue.
He's played a lot of games. Okay.
The bottom line on that decision was Kyle Van Noy was not worth $12 million. That's the bottom line.
We could go then that whole, as we've said, that whole misses like the Dolphins did and on the money that the Dolphins spent last year on their free agent. Bill Belichick misses like that, it will be a national criticism raining down on Bill Belichick.
He misses all the time, and the national media just ignores it. He misses all the time in free agency.
Omar, he has 6 rings. He misses all the time. He's rebuilt the Patriots 4 or 5 times.
Tom Brady keeps giving him rings.
Do we have to do this again? All right. Big Papa Pete asked which player, somebody nobody's talking about now, will show up big time during the season.
We talked about it, touched on it a little bit later. Eric Rowe. There is nobody outside of Xavier Howard that does their job better than Eric Rowe on the Dolphins team. Nobody does, because you know how this is a role-specific team. Everybody has their role. Yes, Xavier Howard, his job is to get turnovers. He'll be beat from time to time, but he produces turnovers generally. He covers his man generally. Eric Rowe takes on the best safeties in the league with no help. And, yeah, he gets beat from time to time, but he does his job. That safety generally does not become a game wrecker. So, to me,
the tight end.
The tight end does not become a game wrecker. So to me, The player we should be talking about a little bit more outside of Jesse Davis, because I love me some Jesse Davis. And y'all gonna put some respect on Jesse Davis's name. By the time the season's over, if Jesse stays healthy, Dolphin fans are gonna put some respect on his name. But it's Eric Rowe.
Do you know how many players on this team you have to use that clause if he stays healthy? I mean, that's a little concerning to me. And you have to say any season in the NFL, but especially underline it to a lot of this roster. That's a little concerning to me. And I touched on this. The guy nobody's talking about now is Myles Gaskin. I watch him in practice, watching him work, and he's built himself into a nice player. And look, I'm not one for overvaluing running backs. Okay, I get why the Dolphins didn't draft one in the first round. I see Najee Harris. I'm not disputing he's going to be a nice player. I get in the way you build a team now, but Myles Gaskin, nice runner, nice receiver, very versatile. And go out and spend a lot for a running back.
10th most productive running back in the NFL in yards per game last season. So yeah. And I think there's more meat on the bone. Yesterday, we were out there for the coaches, and who was out there catching passes with the assistance of an assistant or a staffer throwing in passes? It was Myles Gaskin. And that's part of the reason why the Dolphins are all in. They're investing in it. And honestly, it surprised me that he wasn't a captain just because of the work that he put in and how much his teammates respected him. I do believe in Myles Gaskin as well, and Savon Ahmed, I think they are going to be a dynamic running back duo. Hopefully, as you said, they can stay healthy, Dave. So let's get into the final portion of the show, which is predictions, Dave. What direction are you going in the season opener?
Oh, I'm wrestling on this. So I saw this sitting there like a blinking neon light. I have to make a prediction. I'm going to predict the Dolphins 24-22 only because that's what I want. I want some positivity after week one. And I look at a rookie quarterback. I look at all these new pieces for New England, and I just can't think they can put it all together.
Losses in Foxborough. I've seen two wins in Foxborough. It's hard to pull out that victory. And I know Tom Brady had been behind a lot of those losses, but I until I see it on a more consistent basis. If this game was being played down here, I probably would pick the Dolphins, but home field advantage to me is a factor in this game. Well, thank you for watching X's and Omar. It's always a pleasure to have you guys watch live, ask the questions on Twitter and social media using the hashtag X's and Omar. You can find the show on any format that you listen to your podcast. It's on the Apple podcast. It's on the Spotify podcast. It's on your mama's podcast. And you can also find it on replaying on the Sun Sentinel site and Sun Sentinel pages. For Dave Hyde, Omar Kelly, and Sun Sentinel, we thank you and see you next week, Wednesday at noon.